Alright, y'all. I did mastery for everything. So now... Well, I don't think I did the mastery for Cavendish yet, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it. But Cavendish is not really what we're gonna find. Unless we decide to use a rod. And I am not doing that anytime soon. Level 30.
Sekiro shares quite a few conventions with FromSoft's earlier titles, there's just so much unique about it to argue classification into a genre of its own. Wolf doesn't have stats in an RPG sense, and the sin that Sekiro enemies drop in Shadow Souls is far less useful for us since it can't be used to instantly max level build in the same way a duplication glitch could in a Souls game. There's no multiplayer, no magic, no alternate weapons to swap, so what's left?
Huh.
Despite Sekiro's lack of traditional Souls mechanics, the exploits you can do in this game are no less compelling, and in fact, make up some of the most technically complex glitches I've ever had the honor of showcasing on this channel. It's finally time. Let's break Sekiro. First things first, get your sword and lose that left arm. Damn thing just gets in the way, frankly. Kenichiro is now in possession of the Pioneer and is headed to Ashen Castle, so are we. There are quite a few obstacles between the dilapidated temple and Ashen Castle, though. A total of 6 idols and 5 bosses. 2 of them are the optional samurai generals that just drop prayer beads. The other 3, being the Chained Ogre, Yogi Roniwa, and Blazing Bull, all have fog walls that block your exit, meaning they're mandatory kills. Or at least, they're supposed to be. We're going to skip all of them. Here's how to do it. Using your shiny new arm, grapple the brood at the dilapidated temple, and grab the Ashen Outskirts idol. Proceed along the cliffs until reaching the 8th path idol, and first of 2 optional generals, who can just be ran past without the need of glitch. Also make sure to get the Young Lord's Bell Charm from the old woman while you're here. The glitch we'll do later in the video will make picking up this item impossible, and may soft lock your playthrough if you don't get it now. Just beyond her lies the Outskirts Wall stairway idol and the Chained Ogre. This giant door past the ogre will remain closed all the way until the final act of the game when the Red Guard Ministry invades Ashen. Instead, you're meant to grapple into the hole just above it. As long as the ogre's alive, Claw will be blocking that grapple point. That we can change, unless we avoid using it altogether. Anyone that's played Sekiro knows that there is both a dedicated jump button and a dedicated ledge grab button on the controller, both moves that Wolf can execute one at a time. But there's another not-so-basic movement technique I need to teach you before you move forward. Although it's extremely tight,
Ledge clipping.
between the end of Wolf jumping off the edge of the platform he's currently standing on and him running off the edge of it. And if you input a jump, Wolf will run off and then leap in midair, giving his jump some extra distance and allowing him to reach platforms he's not supposed to.
Oh, one of those Donkey Kong air jumps?
Exploit simply a delayed jump.
That's a Donkey Kong air jump, nigga.
I suspect most of you are too. So that means you have a 60th of a second window to input any jump without it being too early or too late.
Donkey Kong 1.
If Wolf runs off the edge, too late. And if he seems to stick to the platform's edge while completing the jumping
You're
animation
too
normally, too early. Saying the delayed jump is inconsistent is an understatement, but you can begin to get a feel for the timing and get it more often than not if you practice. For better or worse, a lot of Sekiro's glitches require the use of this technique, so if you master hitting a specific frame now, you'll be in a much better position.
So I was cooking fish today, right? But I never cooked fish before, so to clean it, I ripped out its spine. Right? And then I took out all the bones, right? But it was so funny when I ripped out when I was doing the whole taking out the bones thing. It felt like I was just. I don't know. Assuming you manage to pull all that off successfully, you will be able to grapple into the top of the building on the left, open the shortcut door, and find yourself on the opposite side of the ogre's fog gate, which is still very much alive. Now I know I may have made this exploit sound extremely difficult, and that's because it is. I checked my footage and it took me over 1,500 attempts to get it once. Oh,
meaning it's
wow.
officially the hardest glitch I've ever included on any video on my channel thus far. Don't let that scare you. The silver lining is that the ogre skill, as of right now at least, isn't a very useful technique. In fact, there's really no point in doing it at all. The platform that you jump to using glitch is the path that leads from the Bell Demon Idol in Senbok Temple
And since we
Man said, in fact, there's really no reason to use it at all. Well, why'd you show me that?
There's yet another one-way door.
Because it's a way.
And though you can see the bridge with your own warrior in the distance, it's too far away to make the jump. But that shouldn't be surprising. The thing is,
You can make the jump.
Is actually an intended feature. You're never supposed to be able to skip the ogre. And if you go to the right in the courtyard after defeating a whole and jump down into the cave with the headless Akko, you can grapple up to a platform that ultimately leads right back to the smoke. So while the advantages offered by the ogre skip sound really cool on paper, it ultimately only lets us skip a very easy boss in a very difficult way. The real skip we need is a way to clip through this door in the Demon Bell Temple to get access to Sinpo without having to access Ashina Castle. But at least, as of right now, such a glitch has yet to be discovered. Anyway, past the Ogre's Fog Gate lies a courtyard with the second Archon General, so no skip needed here. Just run past him and rest at the Underbridge Valley Idol. This is the part where we have to deal with the annoying giant snake, so after making it 50% less able to see, rest at the Castle Gate Fortress Idol and prepare for the fight with the other warning mark. In our case, number 2. Oniwa's boss arena is massive, the largest in the game even, and there are towering walls on all sides that aren't a giant pit. When it comes to skipping this boss, we would be absolutely screwed if it weren't for this. A wooden lookout tower that just so happens to be somewhat near the wall at the opposite end of the arena, where we need to go. Right, so why is it here? Well, it's an asset that's used all over the game, like the old Grave Idol or those cannon gunmen are, but it's had its grapple point removed. It basically only exists to serve as decoration, and to give Oniwa something to destroy when he's feeling frisky with his horse. But just because we can't grapple onto it, doesn't mean that we can't climb it. A wall kick and a grab will let you reach the platform, but sometimes it's easier said than done. And Oniwa makes it even harder by ramming himself into it. I found that if you enter his arena and then lead him specifically to this patch of fire on the left, he will decide to run around in circles a few times before coming after you, which gives you time to set this glitch up and pull it off before the tower gets smashed. Wall kick, then another jump and grab while hanging can get Wolf all the way to the top. Then by running and once again performing a delayed jump, it's possible to cover just enough distance to grab the edge of the wall and the boss room itself and leave Oniwa behind.
That's hilarious.
You can go ahead now, but if you'd like to kill Oniwa for good before you leave, follow the roof along to the left and stand in the corner. He'll take care of the hard part for you.
Whoa, oh wow. Shinobi
Oh,
execution.
if you're wondering if this same trick could be used to kill Demon Paint Cat when he appears in this location in the endgame, the answer is
Yep. The answer is
Oniwa
yep.
dead, you can now drop down and secure the Ashina Castle Gate Idol. Don't get too comfortable. The Blazing Bowl is just ahead, meaning it's already time for another skip.
Huh.
Go straight ahead along the main path and keep an eye out for the grabbable ledge on the right wall, which, if you're like me, won't have realized existed until this video.
If you're like me.
All the way on the roof. Your next target is this tree. The boss room for the Blazing Bowl is just on the other side. If you want to skip it, you'll have to get on top of the walls of the wall.
Skips and glitches.
So jump toward the right side of the tree and walk kick off the branches in order to
Fall.
walk kick off the branches and keep holding. Walk kick and keep holding.
Huh.
Hang on a second. Yeah, so unfortunately, this is one of the earliest glitches discovered in Sekiro. It was patched out of the game with update 1.3, less than a year after the game's release. Essentially, a massive invisible barrier was added that extends all the way down the length of the wall, meaning no matter how perfectly you time your jump, hell, if you turned off gravity somehow, it would still be impossible to get onto the wall of the boss room this way. Sorry, guys. Getting Blazing Bowl by glitching past the right side of the tree is simply no longer possible.
But
So I guess it's a good thing we can use the left side instead.
nah.
First of all, yes, they only added an invisible barrier to one side of the tree. And secondly, yes, this is still in the game today.
Huh.
Everything I'm showing off in this video is being done in the current patch, version 1.6. Forgot to mention that earlier, but I'm sure you guys know how this channel works by now, right? Anyway, what you want to do is jump from around the middle of the roof toward the left edge of the tree, wall kick off the edge of the tree's invisible hitbox, and then switch from going forward to going right, so that you spin around the edge of the invisible wall and end up on top of the roof. No delay jump necessary for this one. As you can see, it's safe to walk along the walls all the way past the boss room, despite what the lack of floor might imply. Jump past the lock gate and grapple onto the bridge just ahead. Rest of the idol here, and secure a teleport to Ashina Castle so that you will never have to do the bull skip again in the future.
At this point, you could proceed to the upper tower antechamber idol and find Benichiro. For those of you that have played the game before will know that rescuing Kuro from Benichiro at this point doesn't really rescue him. The thing is, all the kids at school are bullying the Special Prince for being immortal, and he refuses to leave his room until we cheer him up by getting him everything he wants for his birthday. So I guess we'll be doing that. You can actually get these 4 items in any order that you like. But I'll be going for the Mortal Blade first, because Mortal Draw is great, and Ichimonji sucks. You heard me. This means that our next goal lies along the path to Senpo Temple. 7 idols, and 2 balls.
You heard me.
All glitches will be cutting down to 5 idols, and like, half balls. You'll see what I mean. After the bull skip,
He's gonna use a wrong warp skip.
Castle, go left instead. Grab the abandoned dungeon idol, then underground waterway, then Senpo Temple. Nothing of real
Maybe.
interest thus far.
I mean, this game doesn't really look like it has any load screens.
While this isn't a glitch necessarily, you can skip a huge chunk of them by simply jumping up this giant rock, then leaping across the chasm to grapple the tree root at the entrance to the temple. Seriously, not enough people know about this. Then you can just grapple inside, snag Gordsey on your way through, and start past a few remaining enemies to get where we need to be. Grab the idol, then climb the mountain door we would normally have to fight the armored warrior. From here you can see the Demon Bell idol in the distance that we unlocked all the way at the beginning of the video. See what I mean about really needing to skip to be discovered between here and there? Speaking of skips, it's time to skip the armored warrior, or at least as close as we can get to one. The fog gate pops up the moment we step onto this bridge, so there's no way to proceed unless he's dead. But just because he has to die, doesn't mean we have to kill him. Essentially what you want to do is enter the fight normally, then have the knight break the wall in the far right corner so the wolf has the ability to jump out of the arena and land on a small ledge of the cliff just outside. This isn't a place you're intended to be able to stand, so getting the game to register wolf as being on this spot is a battle in and of itself, but if you manage to do it, the knight will realize that fog walls are a social construct and run straight through them to the outside of the arena. I know what you're thinking, but no, there's an invisible wall here, so grabbing the edge of the platform the knight is currently on is impossible, despite how tantalizing it is. So, how do we proceed? Simple. You just
Break the wall. Oh, you just wait.
When the warrior falls, you'll be rewarded with a prayer bead, a skill, and have fog walls removed so that we can proceed without ever swinging our shield. So far, the only bosses killed in this file are Oniwa and the armored warrior, but they both dropped to their deaths on their own. So, I say we're innocent.
I say we're innocent.
Normally, you'd have your sights on the main hall of Senpo Temple and the fight with the folding screen monkeys. In our case, we're preparing for the next glitch instead. If you've seen a Sekiro speedrun at any point, you're probably seen someone clip through a wall somewhere in Senpo and plunge down through a white chasm to eventually grapple into the folding screen monkeys arena out of nowhere and get to them early.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever wanted to or tried to remember to see that.
Right now. By jumping into this decorative tree and then sprint jumping on the side of the mountain, you can clip through and fall down into their arena by grappling some part of their environment. Or at least, you used to be able to. This glitch has been patched, and the way From patched it was really sneaky. They didn't fix the clipping into the environment. Instead, they added a giant invisible kill plane above the monkey boss room, so that any attempts to fall into their fight would fade the screen black and reset the wolf to his original position.
Wow.
You can try to skip today, you can get incredibly close to glitching yourself into the fight. So close, in fact, that the boss health bar will appear in the upper left corner of the screen, but that's as far as you'll ever get. As of today, there is no way to access the phone screen monkeys other than the intended cutscene teleport. So in that case, we'll have to skip their fight altogether. To do that, proceed forward into Senpo as intended all the way until you're about to hit the main wall item. Grapple onto its final tree, and aim Wolf's head at this darker spot in the rock wall. Much like Overskill,
Critical.
you can perform a delayed jump off the tree, and then walk across the wall, slam on top of the roof. Also, much like the Overskill, it's incredibly difficult. While this one didn't take 1,500 attempts to make, it was close. Though it may not look it, this roof is not a platform the player was ever meant to access, and the rocks in the corner do not have collision. Jump into them and walk kick and... Yep, we're suddenly in the inner sanctum of Senpo and can pick up the mortal blade. Even though at this point in the playthrough, Wolf doesn't know it exists. Talk to the divine child and bing bong boom.
Bing bong boom.
That leaves 3 items on our grocery list, but these 2 are only necessary for getting access to the Fountainhead Palace, where the last one's found. If we can find a way to glitch ourselves into the palace without the need of the flower or stone, we can go straight for the dragon tears and call it a day. So, this is exactly what we're going to do. Our next path is a total of 6 idols and 8 bosses. Thanks. 4 of them are optional and can just be ran past, but these other 4 are mandatory. Although we can't skip them exactly, I do know some tricks to make them a lot easier. To start off, teleport back to Ashina Castle and go left again. But this time, leap from the bridge and walk it to the right to grapple into Ashina Reservoir. This particular jump isn't required by any means, but it's a fast way to get there. Straight ahead is the cistern, where Wolf is being held prisoner at the very beginning of the game, and we need to pass through it. Unfortunately, there's a mini-boss that spawns here, and when we enter, fog gates will appear on both sides, preventing us from leaving until it's defeated. This is a lone shadow, a repeating mini-boss in Sekiro's mid-game, and although the exploit we're going to use to beat it has nothing to do with this enemy in particular, it's a perfect time to show it off. As you know, if you just mash the attack button into an enemy, you're going to deflect those attacks, and they'll punish you for being overly aggressive. However, if you manage to back an enemy into a corner where they can't evade, then turn Wolf 90 degrees so that he's no longer directly facing the enemy, they won't try to deflect the attack because they assume Wolf is facing the wrong way and the swing targets. This allows the very edge of your sword to still make contact and inflict guaranteed undeflected damage. This trick is called the dead angle, named after a similar exploit you could use to get around shields in Dark Souls 1's PvP. But for Sekiro, it's a much bigger deal since every enemy in this game is essentially always in a state of blocking. Take out the shadow for a prayer bead, and continue forward. Grab the bottom of the soul idol, then jump into the pit just ahead, spamming the grapple button or holding it safely. Then follow the tunnels deeper until dropping down one more time to the Ashina depths. This next area is Sekiro's Poison Swamp, and features another mandatory mini-boss, one of the 2 notorious Snake Eyes. Our saving grace, however, is that her default spawn point is already near a corner. So by using stealth to get the first death blow, and then using the dead angle for the second, she'll go down with relative ease and allow us to proceed into the hidden forest. Grab the idol here and run past the Glutton, one of the optional bosses, to make it to the Mist Noble. We have to kill him to defog the area and open up Mibu Village down below, but anyone who's made it this far into the game knows that an exploit wouldn't make Mist Noble any easier than he is by default. Once he's down, grab the Mibu Village idol, then the Watermill idol. Next, you'll cross paths with Owen over the water, but once again, she's an optional boss, and by just not talking to her, you can continue on to the next boss in the Roblox. Corrupted Monk, on the other hand, is very much not optional. Not only does she guard the entrance to the next area we need, but she also drops the Mibu breathing technique on death, which is a skill we're going to use to glitch into Fountainhead Palace without the proper items. Problem is, you may have noticed that we've skipped almost every boss in the game at this point, meaning Wolf is very underpowered. Unless you were just a god of the Corrupted Monk, beating her now at this level is just not going to happen. Luckily for us, there's an exploit for this fight, and ironically, it's also probably the easiest exploit in the entire game to pull off.
Yay.
Here's how it works. The Corrupted Monk should normally have to fight twice. Once here when she has only 1 health bar, then again later in Fountainhead Palace when she has 3. During the second encounter with her, there's an intended mechanic where you can grapple into a tree above her and perform an aerial death blow to take out one of the health bars for free. Because the same enemy actor is used in both encounters, that means that this same aerial death blow mechanic is present within the first battle as well. And since she only has 1 health bar the first time you fight her, that would mean dropping down from above would be an insta-kill, something we would obviously like to do. I think FromSoft was aware of this, but they didn't think it would ever come into play since there's nowhere in this boss room to drop down from, or so we thought. By moving along the left wall of the arena when you enter, you can avoid being detected by the monk and sneak up behind her. Then by spamming firecrackers, pistol slash, or snap sleeves, you can repeatedly stun her and make her take a step backwards each time. Then, once you moved her sufficiently far back, a jump and a wall kick off this decorative stone pillar will grant Wolf enough height to get over her head and perform a death blow. Without ever aggroing the monk.
Corrupted Monk insta-kill.
The easiest exploit you can do in Sekiro. And yes, it is still in the game to this day.
Honestly, it's not an exploit if it's part of the game.
In order to get the Divine Dragon's Tears, if we were playing normally, it would require us to work our way through Fountainhead Palace. That's 7 idols and 6 bosses. Obviously, this is nothing like a normal playthrough, so we're going to cut that down to 2 idols and 1 boss, the Divine Dragon itself.
I was gonna talking about bosses like if these things are just candy
It's time to air swim.
in a bag
Normally, when you use air
of
swimming to force your way
candy.
to Fountainhead Palace, you'd start by clipping into the wall of the Guardian Outlaw Shrine, since it's relatively close to Mibu Village in terms of the game wall. Unfortunately, it's not an option for us because we never fought Genichiro at the top of Ashina Castle, and therefore never got the key for the gun fort. Without the key, reaching the Guardian Egg is impossible. So instead of using the false room to set up the glitch, we'll have to use Ashina Castle itself. Warp back to the bridge just after Blazing Bolt, and grapple to the left one final time. Climb up the wall on the right, and once you're on top of the roof, learn to perform a delayed jump from the edge and wall kick forward right at the seam of the bricks to clip inside the wall and get access out of bounds. Turn the camera 180 degrees, then sprint jump from this platform into the out-of-bounds pool of water deeper within the wall. Since we're already out of bounds, by diving into the water and then swimming around the water, we can trick the game into thinking Wolf is still under the water surface, allowing him to fly straight through the open air.
Huh.
Since it is broken,
Fly.
it's not seen at first glance, however, because in Sekiro, there are invisible death planes everywhere, and by just swimming around wherever you want, you will inevitably hit one and drop dead instantaneously. No revive.
Wow.
We've got a long way to go to get to Fountainhead from here, and accidentally hitting a death plane would mean restarting from scratch. That being said, I think I've worked out a relatively safe path, and if you follow my lead carefully, you should be fine. From this out-of-bounds pool, dive down, swim underneath the grapple point to your right, then up and aim at this half-loaded building in the distance with this sharp line leading to it. This is the room that leads into the underground dungeon, and by getting close to the merchant, we can force the game to load in the dungeon so we aren't working blind. Now set your sights on this corner of the rock geometry in the distance and swim straight toward it. Once you get close, swim through it, then resurface to discover that this is yet another pool of water that is ever so slightly out of bounds. By surfacing and diving back down at this spot, we force the game to continue loading more of the dungeon. This also has the unwanted effect of putting a dark filter on the screen that can make it hard to navigate. But if you swim just underneath the floor of the tunnels, you can use them as a guide just above you until reaching a dead end. Swim past it, and up and you should see an open door. This door leads to the elevator disinfo, and we'll need to quit the game and reload at this point to be able to see what we're doing. When we load back in, we should be able to swim left along the tunnel, and up to the water wheel that powers the elevator. From this point, swim straight up along the elevator shaft, and you will eventually surface within the Sinfo Temple itself. But, you know, flying.
You know.
Swim over the first half of the stage, between the roofs of these two buildings, then make a right and head straight for this group of spirit emblems in the wire of this tree. Swim into the mountainside, just under these red tree leaves. Once you pass through the rock wall, immediately point the camera down and swim straight down. Swim around the left edge of the area's boundary and into the sandwich of these two geometric planes. Here you want to carefully swim just far enough in to allow you to resurface in this pool of water and load in Sunken Valley before submerging yourself again and swimming straight down once more. Follow this giant stone wall and swim through the crack in the environment. At this point, we are very out of bounds, and we're going to be a little lacking in landmarks. So I like to just aim for the corner of the square, and then after passing it, swim straight into the middle of this pyramid-shaped object. After swimming forward a bit more, Ashina depths will load, and when that happens, stop and orient yourself. There are a ton of death planes here, so try not to make any unnecessary movements. We need to quit and reload the game now, but do it in the wrong place, and Wolf will die when he loads back in, so pay attention. I like to use this lantern in the environment as a reference point. If you're too close to it, you're still not safe. So instead, I like to find the lantern, then swim to the right of it, underneath this giant rock, and quit and reload there. So far, quitting out underneath this rock near the lantern hasn't let me down yet. Now the hidden forest should have loaded in, so swim straight up to get over all the environmental walls, and then forward and down to get back in bounds at the stage.
Whoa, my phone is hot.
To reach the wedding cave and move all the corruption. While we're waiting to get there, I'd just like to mention that if a setup for the air swim glitch was discovered in Mibu Village, we could skip everything we just did. Instead, go straight from the lake in Mibu to Fountainhead Palace, which will take like 60 seconds. I feel like it's only a matter of time
So,
for Sekiro, but until then, we'll have to...
I'm not gonna use a what do you call it? Duskit for farming because I want to find these Plushie Duskits and then I want to get a good nature with them. So I don't really care about the personality that my Gammas have at the moment. I'm just gonna more focus on getting different abilities for my Duskits. Right? Because when the event is done, no more Duskit like that. 1 in 1,000 chance, bro. Better get it while it's hot. And look how easy it was. You know when Terradescent event was out? like the meteor event, I was getting rainbow Terradescence like every 20 battles or every 10 battles sometimes, you know. And Terradescence was 1 in 1,000, just like this monster. So I just gotta be patient, and I'll eventually find it. Alright, well, that's all I'm gonna say here, because I keep falling asleep and stuff.